Hey everybody, happy Memorial Day or the day after. Today I want to show you what it looks like when your inseam is too short. I'm working with one of my students that took my Fabric Mart fabric class, and we're just finishing up fitting her stretch jeans muslin, and we had to do a lot of work to get the crotch to fit right. So that does fit fairly well. And I'll show you here. If you look at this illustration, I just drew over the picture and I drew the wrinkle marks and the silhouette from the back view. What you can see is it looks like the legs are twisting in towards the inseam. And then if you look at the hem, that's always a good telltale sign as well. It looks like it's picking up, or it's being pulled in towards the inseam. And this can happen when your inseam is too short. Now, it's really important to pay attention to where the wrinkles start and end, because if these wrinkles that you can see in this drawing that I drew were up above crotch level along the side seam, that could mean something different, like possibly the side seam is too short and it's pulling up the fabric from up above. But because it looks like it's wrapping around her leg from the side seam to the inseam, and I just want to reach into the zoom screen and untwist it and sort of yank it down and see if that will fix it. So that's kind of what we worked on, and I just want to show you. I think it's helping to show like real life examples and then show how to fix them. So if your muslin looks like this in the back, and the things you're looking for, let's just review the key things you're going to be looking for here. If the inseam looks like it's picking up at the hem, and it might even be sort of tilting up at the hem, that's an indication that the inseam is too short. And you'll be getting diagonal wrinkles on the back leg that are not pointing to the crotch area. They're sort of, pulling across the back leg. Another thing that I think might be contributing to those wrinkles a little bit as well is that maybe there's a little bit too much fabric along the side seam and not enough on the inseam. So let me show you how we fixed this pattern. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to start in the back. Okay, so in the back you can see here's my inseam and here's my side seam. So if this is too short, what's going to happen is, so let me just, I just want to pleat it up here a little bit so you can see. All right, so if this is too short compared to what's going on over here, it's going to make the bottom of the pattern swing in towards the inseam because it's picked up here. So what we want to do is we want to lengthen that. And then again, I think another thing that may be going on is we could skim a little bit off here and add it over here. And I think that that will help as well. So there's two ways to lengthen your inseam. If you just have a little bit, like a ½ inch or less, it's okay to draw a line across your back leg. I mean, we'll be working with the front in a minute, but it's okay to go like this and pivot this open. And I really like using my colored Post-it notes here because it gives me a really easy sort of adhesive on colored paper to work with. But basically, you could open it up like this. Okay, and what that's going to do is it's going to allow the fabric along the inseam to drop. It's going to allow the hem to drop. Okay, so that's one way that you can fix it. But notice when you do that and you tip the entire top of the pattern as you're spreading, what you're doing is you're pushing the top of the pattern towards the side seam a little bit. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring your grain line closer to center back. So if you have a straight figure, okay, and if things are fitting from the crotch up, another way to do it is to do an L-shaped adjustment. Instead of slashing all the way across and pivoting like I just showed you, I'm going to add a second guideline. And this can actually be, you can use your grain line for this actually. So if my grain line was here, what I could do is I could actually cut this off, okay, and I can just slide this up. All right, and what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to lengthen my inseam without, it's going to allow me to lengthen the inseam without playing with the grain of the pattern above the crotch. So see, watch what happens when I just slide this. Okay, so it was like this, right? So we'll just spread it the amount we need, like this. And you can see what's happening here is we've added length just here. And actually, this is all staying the same. So what that allows the fabric to do is it allows it to hang nicer, and it allows the hem to drop. Okay, so that's how you can lengthen your inseam. And I'm just going to put a little piece of paper behind here so I can just true that up. Let me just put a piece of tape here. All right, so whenever you have a situation where one edge is sticking out farther than the other, what I like to do is sort of split the difference. So maybe add a tiny bit above and trim a little bit off the bottom. Okay, so you've lengthened your inseam here. And then up at the top, you can see, looking at this illustration again, that the back, center back waist is curving down a little bit at the center back. So notice we have this extending up here. We don't want to take that off. I'm going to fill that in. Okay, so and actually what it's doing is it's sort of filling in the waist up at the top. All right, so I'm just going to connect here for now. You know, and just sort of do that to true up the waist edge in the back. Let me just do it in green. Okay, like this. All right, so that's how we are now lengthening our inseam to get rid of those wrinkles that are wrapping around the back leg, and I think it'll allow them to fall. Okay, so that takes care of the back. Now obviously in the front, if you've lengthened your inseam in the back, you have to make a like adjustment in the front. So you can do it the same exact way. And I think because I'm working with a student right now that doesn't have a lot of curve at the hip so much, I think I'm going to keep it, I'm going to do it vertically, and I'm not going to slash and spread and tip the top of the pattern. So I'm going to make this L-shaped cut. Okay, and then I'm just going to stick my little pink paper in here, and I can just raise that the like amount. Okay, so what that's doing is it's going to allow this to drop. Okay, so you can see that there's more fabric here, and it should fix those wrinkles that are wrapping around the leg. Okay, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut off my side seam of my front, because I just want to bring it together with the side seam in the back and just show you here. I'm going to true this up, but I don't want a point. See how that's now creating a point? What we may need to do is smooth this out and just add a little bit to our sides so we don't end up with a V shape at that side seam. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Okay, and so I'm adding all of this. I'm just going to color it in so you can see. Okay, so I'm adding straight across the front there, and then in the back we're just adding this little bit here just so we don't end up with a V. So you always want to check and see what your adjustments do across the side seam as well, like at the waist. And then the other thing too is if if it looks like you can grab fabric underneath the fullest part of your hip and it's just hanging out there, and I think that's the case as well a little bit, what you can do is you can take in your side seam a little bit, and you can do that front and back just a little bit. Okay, and then you can let out your inseam a little bit, and what that's going to do is it's going to transfer fabric from the side seam to the inseam, and I think that will help smooth out those wrinkles as well. All right, so we're going to add here, and we're getting rid of this and that, and we're adding here. So I'm adding all of this. And really it can just be the littlest amount. It doesn't need to be, you'd be surprised that even maybe a ½ inch shift can help that fabric hang straight. All right, so I'm just going to cut these out so you can see the final shape that I created. Everything should be very gradual. I'm going to cut this out. And then I just want to show you here, after you do any sort of adjustment like this, you want to go ahead and make sure that your inseams still match. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this out so I can show you how to make sure your pattern is trued up. Okay, so here's my completed back, and here's my completed front. Out so you can see. Okay, just cut the rest of the front out. Okay, all right, so these are my final shapes, my front and my back. So the first thing you want to do is locate your knee line. So let's pretend on this pattern, here's my knee. I'm just going to make a like one over here. All right, so what you want to do is you want to measure or lay your pattern so that the knee lines match, okay? And then you're just going to walk the pattern up to the top and make sure they're even up at the top. And if you've got a slight difference, like I do have a slight difference here, your choice is you can either cut off the one that's too high, or you can add a little bit, like add half of the difference to the short one and trim half the difference off of the long one. I think in this case, I'm going to just be likely to just cut this off. Okay, so I've trued up from my knee to my waist. Then we want to do the same thing from the knee to the hem. Okay, and in this case I just have that short little inch. But you never want to start at the hem and check all the way through to the waist, because at the knee is where the pattern should be 1-to-1. And then sometimes with some patterns, the back inseam, for example, is a little bit shorter than the front inseam to help smooth the back leg. So you always want to make sure you use your knee line as a guide. So just to finish this up now, to check my inseam, I am just going to line up my knee, and I'm going to swing this forward. And you can see in this case my front was a little bit, my back was a little bit longer. So again, in this case, like let's say I trimmed a little bit off of the back. So I'm just going to trim this a little bit off. And then I can add a like amount to the front to make them even. And I know this is tiny, but basically I just want to show you in case you decide you want to split the difference. I'm just going to add a little bit there. Okay, so I added this little bit, and I'm going to trim this little bit off, because you never want the back to be longer than the front. So now that I've trimmed this, let's check it one more time. And let me just trim this. Okay, so I think this will fix this. Let me just get rid of this paper. So now if I see if those match again, I'm going from the knee up to the crotch, and you can see that those will now match. Okay, so that's how you true up your pattern pieces after you've lengthened your inseam. All right, so that's my little fit tip for today. I'm trying to show you what something looks like that we're trying to fix. So when I get a student that has a particular problem that we fixed, or if if I have something to show you to correspond with the pattern adjustment, I'm going to try to include that going forward, because I think it just makes it a little bit more helpful. On Friday, I'm going to be doing a final shorts for everybody episode. This isn't really part of the actual sew along. I'm just going to show you my finished shorts, and then I'm going to show you how to lengthen your shorts pattern into full length or capri length pants. If you're interested in seeing, one of my sewing friends sent me a picture of her capri length pants that she made from the Shorts for Everybody pattern. Check the community tab for that. And then on Sunday, we're going to be doing some embroidery. I'm going to be looking at the instruction manual for the Brother PRS 100 Persona, which is right behind me. You can see it. That's my new machine, and I'm going to be going over the embroidery tutorial in the instruction manual on Sunday. So I hope you'll join me for that. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate every one of you who follows along with me. So I will see you again soon, and have a nice day.